really dead in here. All right, we will get started. So you can find yourself in a comfortable seat. And so we've been going through the yamas and niyamas all year so far. Today we will talk about the idea of Santosha, which is one of my favorites. You shouldn't have favorites probably, but it's one of the most meaningful ones to me, I think, because it's the idea of contentment, which obviously we know is not happiness, right? Happiness and contentment are not the same thing. You don't have to be in a good situation to be content. Um, but it's really that idea of being able to find that place of contentment regardless of where you are. And so we'll do some things on the mat today that help you experience that in your body. And then I realized I forgot to send out like the practice thing last week. So I'll send last week's and this week this afternoon. But just starting to consider when you find that place of peace and of contentment in yourself, like it's always available to you. And so even when you're in the midst of a pose that you would really like to get out of, can you take a moment and find that place of contentment? You know, when you're in a interaction with somebody that I really just don't want to be in, can I take a moment and find that place of contentment? That's really what the idea of it is. So the mudra, or the hand position that goes with Santosha, is, you know, you have your hands just open to the sky, and then you tuck your index finger under your thumb, and you can just touch them lightly, or you can, some people like pull, that feels a little much for me, but this is the hand signal that comes with it. And I think it, to me, what it symbolizes is you're open, right? But you're also connected with yourself. So it's like I can be open to what's going on, but I'm also connected to myself. So I'm going to invite us to start just in a seated posture with the hands in this called Jnana Mudra, with the eyes open or closed, whatever feels comfortable to you. And we'll begin by just scanning through the body, noticing what you notice, noticing what's here today, noticing if there are any areas of discomfort that your attention would really like to avoid. Noticing what thoughts, perceptions, questions maybe you came into class today with. And then finding the spine long, I'm going to invite you to allow the attention to settle on the breath, breathing in fully, noticing that there's a pause between the inhale and exhale, and then breathing out just as fully. And then noticing that there's a pause between the exhale and the inhale. Breathing in, find that pause, the kumbhak. Breathe out, find that pause. Continue in pattern with your own breath, so not changing it. Remember, contentment is in some ways about finding just what's there, being okay with what's there. As you continue in this pattern of breathing, I'm going to offer you the invitation to bring an affirmation to mind. So as you breathe in, perhaps you say to yourself, I am. And as you exhale, you fill in the blank with something that's true about you, regardless of what's going on. So it can be, I am enough. I am loved. I am supported. Finding the phrase that's meaningful to you. For the next several breaths, I'm going to invite you to allow those words to maybe float away, but maybe not float too far away, because I'll ask you to call on them again during our practice today. Allow the breath to become just more natural, steady, smooth in and out breath. You can allow the hands to relax down onto the lap. And then on the next exhale, I'll invite you to allow the chin to fall toward the chest. On an inhale, we'll lift the chin toward the ceiling. Exhaling the chin toward the chest. Inhaling the chin toward the ceiling. Exhaling the chin toward the chest. Inhaling the chin toward the ceiling. Maybe a couple more of these in time with your own breath. Bringing the head back to center, we'll begin to just look from left to right. So again, in time with the breath. So breathing in to look one direction. Breathing out to look the other. Be a couple more in time with your breath. Bringing the head back to center, we'll begin to just roll the shoulders. And you can make this movement intuitive, just whatever feels good for your body. So sometimes moving one at a time feels good. Go forward and backward. You can make it as big or as small as you want. Moving the torso and the ribs. Bring that to stillness. Bring the arms wide. Make the fingers little cupcakes. Put them on the shoulders. And do some shoulder flossing. Like chicken wings. There's some kid's song about chicken wings that like my kids love. Can't help but think of it, right? Awesome. Go ahead and come to stillness. Allow the right hand to find the left knee, the left hand to come behind you. Sit up nice and tall on an inhale. Exhale, we'll twist toward the left side or toward the prop wall. So whenever you're twisting, it's okay for the hips to move a little bit, but you want to keep both sits bones on the ground, and you don't want to crank with your hands. You don't want to pull with your hands. But let the breath be your guide. And back to center on an inhale, we'll bring the arms way up overhead. Exhale to goalpost the arms. Inhale to bring the arms way up overhead. Exhale to bring the left hand to the right knee, the right hand behind you, sitting up nice and tall on an inhale. Exhaling to twist. Inhaling to unwind the twist, bring the arms way up overhead. Exhaling to goalpost the arms. Inhaling to bring the arms back up overhead. Exhaling the hands to heart center. If you're on a bolster, you may want to come off the bolster because it may be a little bit too high. But we're going to go ahead and extend the left leg out to the side. And you could probably be on a blanket if you wanted to, but a bolster might just be a too high. So with the right foot, the sole of the right foot to the inner thigh of the left leg, whatever that's called. Take your left hand to the right knee, bring this right arm up overhead, and laterally stretch over toward the extended leg. That was a lot of directional cues. Breathing deep into the side body on that right side. Finding a little bit of a twist in the upper body. Inhaling back up to seated. Go ahead and bring both hands to the ground. Take this extended leg and bend it kind of behind you. So it's bent at a 90-degree angle behind you, and then your front leg, it's kind of like your front leg's in pigeon, but you're not really in pigeon. Does that make sense? Sit up nice and tall, and then forward fold over that front leg. There we go. Yeah. And you can go as far as feels good to you. Sometimes this is an even more accessible version of pigeon. Walk the hands back toward the knee. Go ahead and just switch your legs. So extending the right leg out beside you. The left foot is to the inside of the right thigh. The right hand is to the left knee. The left arm is up overhead. And then we'll laterally stretch over toward that extended leg. Again, breathing deep into the side body on that left side. Come back upright. Go ahead and take that extended leg and kind of bend it behind you so you're in that called deer pose or stag pose. Sitting up nice and tall. Start to hinge at the hips, kind of out over that front bent knee. And then once you get as far as you would like to go, you can allow the head and the shoulders to relax. Walking the hands back toward the hips on an inhale. Go ahead and come back on, bring both feet to the mat in front of you. Come back onto your sit bones. Sit up nice and tall and begin to lift one foot, maybe 2 feet for boat pose. We'll hold here for 5 breaths. That affirmation that you gave yourself is available to you. If your mind starts to tell you all the ways that you can't do this, you can. You can modify to make it available. 2 more breaths. After your 5th breath, just allow the feet to come to the mat. We'll go ahead and we're going to kind of do things a little bit backwards today. We'll go ahead and roll down to our back now. So you have your feet on the mat. And you find yourself in a bridge prep position. So the heels are right underneath the knees. So some people, like depending on the length of your hand, sometimes I'll tell you to like touch your heels with your fingertips, with your hands extended beside you. But that doesn't work depending on how long your hands are, how long your arms are. So more what's important is just that the heels are underneath your knees. Okay. I'm gonna offer you a series of 3 different variations of bridge. So listen to what makes sense for you. And on an inhale, I'm going to invite you to press into the heels, lift the hips toward the sky for bridge pose. And we'll hold here for 10 breaths. Remember that that affirmation is always available to you. Two more breaths. Exhale the hips to the earth. Go ahead and windshield wiper the knees from side to side. Come back into stillness with the knees in the center. So this time when we press up into bridge pose, what I'm going to offer you is the option to lower the hips and raise the hips in time with your breath. If that doesn't feel good, just stay in bridge, or lying flat on your back is always an option. But on an inhale, we'll press into the heels, lift the hips toward the sky. We'll exhale and lower the hips so they hover about an inch over the earth. Inhale the hips back toward the ceiling. Lower the hips on an exhale. Lift the hips on an inhale. Continue in time with your own breath, remembering that if the mind starts to tell you it doesn't want to be here, you can offer it that affirmation that I'm here, I'm okay. Do three more. On the next exhale, go ahead and allow the hips to come all the way down to the mat and draw the knees into the chest. Rocking back and forth across the low back. Finding stillness will allow the feet to find the mat one more time. This time, I'm going to offer you at the top of the bridge pose to lift one foot off the floor and do those dips one-legged. So there's no requirement to do any of it. You can continue in two-legged, you can continue in a regular bridge, or you can just lay flat on your back. However, know that in the discomfort, can you find that place of contentment, the fullness of breath, the reminder that I can do things. I can do hard things. I am enough. Take one big inhale in, audible exhale out. On an inhale, press up into a bridge pose. If you would like to try the one leg, you can lift the right foot off the mat. On an exhale, we'll lower the hips toward the earth. Inhale and bring the hips toward the sky for one. Lower the hips toward the mat. Inhale toward the sky for two. We'll do three more on this side. Hold here for one full breath. Exhale, bring the right foot to the mat. Go ahead and lower the hips to the earth. Hold the knees in and rock across the low back. You did it. Yay. Okay, coming back to stillness, we have another side. Allowing the feet to find the mat, the hands to find the earth alongside the body. On an inhale, we'll press up into a bridge pose. We'll lift the left foot off the mat this time, trying to keep the hips level, which is easier said than done. Exhaling the hips toward the mat. Inhaling to press into the sky. Exhaling toward the mat, pushing into that right heel to really strengthen and use the glutes. 2 more. Hold here for 1 full breath. Bring the left foot to the mat. Go ahead and lower the hips to the earth. Take a big inhale in as you draw the knees into the chest. Audible exhale as you rock back and forth. The next time the knees come to the right, go ahead and let them fall all the way to the right. And then open the left shoulder back toward the mat for a supine twist. The head can be looking up toward the ceiling, or it can look out over to the left. Filling up that left side body with air. Inhaling to use the core and bring the knees back through center, then allowing the knees to just go ahead and fall over to the left and open that right arm, right shoulder toward the mat. Inhaling the knees back to center. From here, we're going to come up to a tabletop position. So you can either just roll over and come to table, or you can roll up and down the back and roll yourself over into table. Take a drink of water if you would like. Oh, I left out my favorite part from there. We'll get it later. So finding yourself in a tabletop position with the wrists underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. Take a moment just to notice where you are in space. So do the hands feel supported? Are you sinking down into the shoulders? If so, can you maybe dial those triceps in toward the body and find that little space between your shoulder blades? Lift up a little bit. From here, on an inhale, we'll drop the belly, lift the head for a cow pose. Exhaling, we'll curve the spine. There we go. Inhaling to cow. Exhaling to cat. Take several more breaths, just however you would like to make this motion. Whatever feels good to you. Beautiful. So coming back into stillness, we'll go ahead and take the right leg out behind us with the toes on the mat. And just for a moment here, let's just kind of move forward and backward, finding some length in the back of the right leg. Push back. Sometimes you find a little bit of a stretch in the calf. And then coming back to neutral. Again, really dialing those hands out energetically, turning the triceps in toward the shoulders. Finding the core, lifting the belly up toward the spine. On an inhale, we'll lift the right foot off the mat. And if you would like to take it a step further, you can lift the left arm forward. So the gaze can be right down in front of you. So the spine is one long extension. We'll hold here for 3 more breaths. Then bring the left hand to the earth, the right, whatever, knee to the earth. Maybe shake the hips back and forth a little bit and press back into a child's pose if that feels good. And then coming back into table, we'll take the left foot behind us this time. Taking a moment just to stretch that left foot out or the back of the left leg. Coming back into stillness, we'll lift the left foot off the mat if that feels available to you, pressing down into the hands, dialing the triceps in toward the body. Lift the right arm. Three more breaths here. Can bring the right arm to the mat, the left knee to the mat, and go ahead and press back into child's pose for just a breath or two. We're not quite done. Coming back into table. We'll go ahead and stretch that right foot behind us again, lift it off the mat. Lift the left hand off the mat if that's available. On an inhale, grow long, and on an exhale, if it's available, pull the knee and the elbow toward each other. Inhaling to grow long, exhaling to pull the knee and elbow toward each other. We'll do 3 more of these on this side. In time with your own breath. And after your last one, just come back into a table. You guys did great. Shake the wrists out, yeah. Does it feel good? All right, we have another side. We'll take the left foot behind us. Lifting the left foot off the mat, the right arm forward. Inhaling to grow long. Exhaling, we'll bring the knee and the elbow together. Inhaling to grow long. Exhaling to bring the knee and elbow together. Making sure that you're keeping your core engaged so your back is not swaying back and forth. You're using that girdle around your torso to hold you steady. 2 more. Beautiful. Come back into table. And we'll press back into child's pose. I'm going to offer this to you all for about 90 seconds. So if it's not comfortable to stay in child's pose for 90 seconds, you can come forward and just lay on your belly. But what I invite you to notice in this place is the energy moving through your body. And notice how you can slow it down with the breath, with a moment of stillness. You can make noise when you're breathing, that is okay. You can return to that affirmation. With the hands where they are, you can press a little bit into the hands, tuck the toes, and lift the hips up and back into downward facing dog. So again, lifting the hips up and back before you start to straighten the knees. Awesome. Here you can walk your dog, so bending one knee and then the other, pointing those sits bones up toward the ceiling, dialing those triceps in toward the body, and finding a moment of stillness. On an inhale, looking towards your hands, and on an exhale, walking the hands up to meet the feet, finding yourself in a forward fold. Does anybody want their blocks in front of them that doesn't have them? Oh, you got them. So in this forward fold, go ahead and bend the knees a lot and allow the thighs to support the torso. So you might have to bend your knees a whole lot, or you can use the blocks, but make it just kind of a hangy forward fold. Inhaling to slowly roll up to stand. Letting your head adjust to being upright. Whew. Lifting the arms up overhead on an inhale. Exhaling the hands to heart center. Taking a moment here in your mountain pose. Find your feet on the earth. Not even. Draw that line of energy up the legs. Noticing the pelvis, the shoulders. Shifting the weight into the right foot. We'll bring the left foot off the mat a little bit for a tree pose. So your tree pose can be like this, can be like this. There you go. Lengthening through that right side of the body. Finding yourself steady. Another breath here. Bring both feet to the mat. Bring the hands out to the side. On an inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Exhale the hands to heart center. Shifting the weight into the left foot, we'll take tree pose on the other side. Vrksasana. And notice when you engage, you pull this left hip in, you engage this core, it helps you just stay upright. 2 more breaths here. Exhale the right foot to the mat, both hands out to the sides. On an inhale, lifting the arms overhead. On an exhale, sit back into chair pose. In this chair pose, the hands can be up overhead, they can be at heart center, they can be in Jnana Mudra. Breathing deep, making sure you can see your toes in front of your knees. Trying to rip the mat apart with your heels, finding that engagement in the outer glutes. Reminding yourself in the midst of discomfort, I can find contentment. And then exhaling to forward fold. Go ahead and let the hands find blocks or the mat. And we'll step the right foot back into up runner. So noticing that the left knee is not in front of the left heel. Not in front of the left heel. Take a moment in your up runner. Find that the back leg is strong. See if you can draw a line from the crown of your head down your spine out to your heel. Drawing the core into the spine. Keeping the right hand on the blocks or on the mat. Go ahead and lift the left arm up toward the ceiling, opening a twist toward the left side. There you go. Bringing the left hand back to the blocks. Go ahead and drop that right knee to the mat. Shift the hips back over the right knee. Scissor the left heel and the right knee together to engage those inner thighs, your pelvic floor, your core. Tilt the tailbone down toward the earth. It's the only time I'll tell you to tilt your pelvis forward. Find that stretch in the front of the right leg. Inhaling the arms overhead. Exhale to goalpost the arms. Inhaling the arms overhead. Bring the hands back to blocks or the mat. Coming back up onto the back toes. Got it? We're gonna warrior prep the back foot. So we'll turn the edge of your foot parallel with the short edge of your mat. Come up to stand. Find where your hips are first, right? So when I stand, I have one that's sticking way out this direction. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna just carve it toward the heel. I'm gonna notice that my left knee is not doing this, right? I'm gonna draw it outward a little bit. I'm gonna engage the core, and then I'm gonna invite you to twist your torso, your shoulders, so that your heart space is facing the window. So I'm gonna face you guys, but you're gonna be facing that direction. Extend the arms long. Look out over the front arm, front fingertips. Find yourself in warrior two. If your shoulders are like this, it's really easy, it happens. Just bring them back in line over your hips. Awesome. Stay here. Eyes can be open or closed. Notice the thoughts and judgments that you have about being here. Take a moment and offer those the opportunity to float away. Find that place of contentment, that place of peace, even in a pose that we're holding for just about 3 or 4 more breaths. One more big inhale here. Audible exhale as you windmill the arms forward. Find yourself back in up runner. Go ahead and step the back foot up to meet the front. Find yourself in forward fold. Roll up through the spine, lifting the arms overhead. Bring the hands to heart center on an exhale. Take a moment and let your body regulate for a second. Shaking out what needs to be shaken out. Taking a breath. Moving around a little bit. Sorting it out. And on an inhale, we'll lift the arms overhead again. On an exhale, we'll sit back into chair pose again. So again, arms can be a whole bunch of variations. We've also done this. I don't know what it's called. But this mudra helps kind of pull you together, hold you together. Ariel, can you sit your hips back a little? There you go. It's hard. You. There you go. Do you feel that? Yeah. 3 more breaths here. Pulling the mat apart with your heels. Exhale, bring the hands down to blocks or the mat. Go ahead and step the left foot back into up runner. Noticing that right heel is not forward, right knee is not forward of the right heel. Take a moment in your up runner to find the strength in this pose. It is a stretch, but it also takes a lot of strength to be here. So strengthening the back leg. Leaving the left hand on the blocks or mat, we'll open the right hand up toward the ceiling for a runner's twist. Exhaling the right hand back to the blocks or the mat. Go ahead and drop the left knee to the mat, untuck the left toes, shift the hips back over the left knee. Scissor the front heel and the back knee together. Do you guys feel when you do that, how it engages this? I want to make sure you feel that in your body. Feel it. Relax the arms. Tuck the tailbone down. Tilting the pelvis forward, finding a stretch in the front of the left hip flexor. Inhaling the arms overhead. Exhaling to goalpost the arms. Inhaling the arms back overhead. Exhaling the hands to blocks or the mat, coming back up onto the back toes. Warrior prepping that back foot. Coming up to stand. It's harder to do it slow than it is to do it fast. All right, noticing where your hips are, right? So as one out to the side, Can you carve, like level the hips out? They don't need to be like in line with each other, if that makes sense, but you want them on the same plane. So they don't have to be like both facing the same direction, but you want your hip bones to be level with each other. Does that make sense? Draw in the core, open the torso toward the prop wall, extend the arms forward and back. Pressing into that front heel more than the toes is going to protect the knee. Looking out over the front hands. Noticing again any thoughts, opinions that your mind is trying to grasp about this position. Turning the attention to the breath. Finding that place of contentment. Two more breaths. Exhaling to windmill the arms. Back up onto the top back toes. This time, plant the hands on the mat. Step the right foot back to meet the left. You can stay in this plank, or you can drop your knees and be in a supported plank. But what you want is one line from the crown of your head, at least through your knees. You guys are going to hate me. Yep. So if you want, that's good. Or you can drop your knees on there. Drop your knees to the mat, all the way down, untuck your toes. Shift your hips forward a little bit. There you go. Push into your hands so this comes up. Does that feel stable? You feel that engagement in your core? Yeah, you got it. Hold it here. 3 more breaths. Whether you're, and if you are in full plank, there is no shame in coming down. You get just as much of a workout for the front of your body. Exhale back into child's pose. Come back up into plank, whether it's a modified plank on your knees or whether it's a full plank. We'll hold here for 5 breaths. Chrissy, drop those hips like 2 inches. How's that feel? Shift the shoulders out over the wrists and then go ahead and come down and lay down on your belly. Take a moment here with your hands under your forehead. Maybe wiggle the hips from side to side a little bit. Just feel your body here. Bring the hands under the shoulders. We'll press up into a seat, just long enough to take your bolster. Put it across your mat. We're going to go into that supported pigeon. So if you know that this is the height that you want, or if that's too high, a couple of blankets can be just as effective. So coming forward onto your knees, you'll bring your right leg in front of the bolster, sit your hips on the bolster. Yeah. And like there are times where I have to like elevate even higher. You need a hand? There you go. All right, so finding yourself with that back leg extended. So this is, again, another time where this time you do want your hips to both point forward. So if one's like this, you might need to elevate your hips even a little bit more, okay? Sitting up nice and tall, and then exhaling to forward fold over that front leg. We'll stay here for about a minute and a half. Oh. Returning to the breath. Walking the hands back toward the knee. Go ahead and bring both knees back to the same side of the mat. Press back into child's pose for just a moment with the hands draped over the bolster for just a few breaths. Pressing into the arms, we'll go ahead and bring the left leg forward across the bolster, sitting the hips on. So yeah, this is the side where like I gotta have a little bit more elevation here. No shame in that. It's just how open your hips are today, the shape of the geometry of your bones, as Renee said. Sitting up nice and tall, and then starting to forward fold. Pressing into the hands, we'll walk the hands back toward the knees. Bring both legs back to the same side of the mat. There's no same side of the bolster. There's no graceful way to do that. Remove your bolster from the mat just for a second, but keep it close. I'm going to offer a few minutes in what's called a supported bridge pose, which we've done this before. So if you find yourself in a bridge prep position, so the heels under the knees, feet on the mat, and then you press up into a bridge just long enough to slide the bolster right under your sacrum. So it's not under your back, it's under right under your glutes, right under your sacrum. And allowing the hips to rest on the bolster, allowing the hands to fall out to the side. You can find your hands back in that Janana Mudra. It's probably my second favorite yoga pose of all time. Bridge pose is the pose that is associated with finding this idea of Santosha, of contentment. So I invite you to really return to that idea as we stay here for about 2 more minutes. Returning to the breath, returning to that affirmation. Pressing into the feet to lift the hips up toward the mat, toward the earth. The place that's above you, the ceiling. Sliding the bolster out from underneath the hips, allowing them to settle on the earth for just a second. Taking about 30 seconds to make whatever shapes with your body you would like to before we settle into Shavasana. If you know that you want some extra props for Shavasana than what you have, just let me know. I can be the prop delivery system. I think the most joyous thing for me as a yoga teacher is seeing how you guys have all figured out what feels good for your body. It just makes me so happy. So as we find ourselves here in this final resting place, I invite you to again scan through the body, noticing what you notice. Seeing if you can find that place of contentment. Santosha is not only agreeing with what is in the moment, it is welcoming whatever is in the moment. It is staying in the calm center, regardless of what's going on within or without you. And it's being fully present, experiencing the fullness of this moment, and knowing that this moment is complete. There's nothing else you need, nothing else you need to do. So I invite you to rest in that over the next few minutes. When the mind starts to pull you away, perhaps you can use the breath to return your attention to your body, to this moment, reminding yourself that this moment is complete. Invite you over the next few inhales and exhales to allow the breath to become fuller, bringing life back into the body. Maybe wiggling fingers and toes, drawing the knees in together, rolling the head back and forth. And you can settle back into stillness wherever is comfortable, whether it's right where you are or moving the props and rolling to your side. I'm going to offer a poem from Walt Whitman in Leaves of Grass. He says, I exist as I am. That is enough. If no other in the world be aware, I sit content. And if each and all be aware, I sit content. One world is aware, and by far the largest to me, and that is myself. And whether I come to my own today or in 10,000 or 10 million years, I can cheerfully take it now, or with equal cheerfulness, I can wait. Slowly honoring your container, using your body to support yourself, using the hands to press yourself back up to a seated position. Finding yourself facing the front of the room with the hands at heart center. The eyes can drift down to the hands to offer yourself a moment of gratitude. I thank you all for practicing with me today. Namaste. Ladies. Oh, thank you, Amy. Bye.